The small gut extends from the pyloric end of the stomach to the ileocecal junction. What are the components of the small intestine? Duodenum, it is the proximal fixed part, and jejunum and ileum is the mobile part. Total length of duodenum is about 6.5 meter, and it is essential for life because most of the digestion and absorption takes place in the small intestine. Okay, mainly in parts of the duodenum digestive juices are coming out, and it helps in most of the digestion. See here, this is stomach, cardiac end, pyloric end of the stomach. From the pyloric end of stomach, the duodenum is starting. It is forming a C-shaped curve. Okay, it has four parts. First, this part is first part, extending upward and posteriorly. Okay, first part is very small. Then this vertical part is the second part, then horizontal part will be the third part, and then one ascending obliquely placed part, that is the fourth part. And from here lies the duodenojejunal flexure, junction between the duodenum and the jejunum. And from here jejunum and jejunum is starting. Jejunum, this bluish portion represents the jejunum, and pinkish one ileum. And this ileum is joining with the cecum. Cecum is part of large intestine at the ileocecal junction. Okay. So today we'll discuss the duodenum. So the duodenum comes from the Greek word dodecadactylos. Okay. Length of the duodenum is equal to breadth of 12 fingers. This Greek word means this. Okay, length of the duodenum is about breadth of the 12 fingers of the patient. And it was discovered by Herophilus in 300 BC. It is devoid of mesentery. Okay, and it is a C-shaped curve encloses the head of the pancreas. See, this is the duodenum enclosing the head of the pancreas. So here is first part, second part, third part, fourth part. Okay, and from here jejunum is starting. And here in the second part of duodenum, you can see the common bile duct and pancreatic duct is opening in the major duodenum papilla through the ampulla of Vater. Okay, and this is cut sections of this duodenum have been shown. You can see multiple circular folds. Okay, these are known as plica circularis. So these are the parts of the duodenum. First part is upper part. It is about 5 centimeter in length. Second or vertical part 8 to 10 centimeter in length. Third or horizontal part is about 10 centimeter. Fourth or ascending part is 2.5 centimeter. Okay, first, second, third, fourth. Okay. So next we are going to relations of these four parts. So first part, visceral relations here. See, this is the other viscera are attached here. Stomach, pyloric end. So this is first part. Okay. Anteriorly lies the quadrate lobe of liver and the gallbladder. Okay. On the inferior surface of liver, you have seen. Posteriorly lies the gastroduodenal artery, bile duct, and the portal vein. And superiorly lies the epiploic foramen. Here is the epiploic foramen just above the first part of the duodenum, through which the two sacs of the peritoneum are connecting. Greater sac is connecting with the lesser sac through this epiploic foramen. Okay, a boundary of epiploic foramen is also asked in your viva. So superiorly epiploic foramen, inferiorly head and neck of the pancreas. Okay, here inferiorly head and neck of the pancreas. So what is the difference between duodenum and rest of the small gut? Duodenum is a fixed part and it is devoid of mesentery. But other rest of the small gut is mobile and suspended by the mesentery. Okay, so mesentery is absent in duodenum. And duodenum is supplied by two rows of vasa recta. Vasa recta are fine vessels supplying the walls of the duodenum. Okay, so it had two rows of vasa recta, but it other part of the small gut supplied by single row of vasa recta, and the vessels distribute in alternate manner. Okay. Next, duodenum have a specific feature in the some mucous coat that is important for your histology and viva. Okay, so presence of Brunner's gland, it is specific feature of duodenum. Brunner's gland in the some mucous coat. These are mucous glands. Okay, lying in the some mucous coat of the duodenum, and at the rest of the small gut there is absence of glands in the some mucous coat. Next, we are going to second part of duodenum. Anteriorly lies the gallbladder and right lobe of the liver, transverse colon, transverse mesocolon commencement, and coils of the small intestine. Posteriorly lies the right kidney and right renal vessels, and right edge of the inferior vena cava and right psoas major muscle. Medially lies the head of the pancreas, laterally from below upward, ascending colon, right colic flexure, and right lobe of the liver. Okay, so these are the relations of second part of duodenum. See here, this is the second part. Anteriorly lies the gallbladder and right lobe of the liver. Posteriorly lies this right transverse colon, right colic flexure, mesocolon. Okay, and medially lies the pancreas, and laterally lies this ascending colon. And this kidney and suprarenal gland, some part of suprarenal gland, these renal veins, all inferior vena cava, all these lying in posterior relations to second part of the duodenum. Psoas major muscle is lying in the lower part here. Next, we are going to relations of third part of duodenum. Anteriorly lies the root of the mesentery, superior mesenteric vessels, and coils of the jejunum. Posteriorly lies the psoas major, right ureter, IVC, abdominal aorta, and right gonadal vessels. Superiorly lies the head of the pancreas with its uncinate process, and inferiorly coils of the jejunum. Okay, so these are the relations of third part. Here you can see this is the third part, and these are the relations. Anterior relations, you can see the transverse colon, transverse mesocolon, and these are the posterior relation. All these structures are lying posteriorly. Psoas major muscle, gonadal vessels, okay, inferior vena cava, all these are lying posteriorly. Next, we are going to the fourth part. Fourth part here, anteriorly lies the transverse colon and transverse mesocolon. Posteriorly lies the left psoas major muscle, left sympathetic chain, left gonadal vessels, and inferior mesenteric vein. Superiorly lies the body of pancreas, on to the right, left side, left kidney and left ureter, and to the right, upper part of the root of the mesentery. So these are the relations of the fourth part. Here, this part is the fourth part of duodenum, and these are the relations. Transverse colon and mesocolon, anterior relation, posterior relation, left sympathetic chain, inferior mesenteric vein, left gonadal vessels, and left psoas major. Okay, this is the interior of the duodenum have been shown. Duodenum have been cut. This is the first part. First part forming the duodenal bulb. Okay. In barium solo X-ray, it represents as a specific identification point, the duodenal cup. Okay. Duodenal bulb or duodenal cup. And these are the circular folds. These are numerous in the second and third part, fourth part, and these are two papillas, minor duodenal papilla, major duodenal papilla. In the major duodenal papilla, the main pancreatic duct and common bile duct is opening, and in the minor duodenal papilla, accessory pancreatic duct is opening. Okay, the minor duodenal papilla is about 2 centimeter proximal to the major duodenal papilla. These internal features you will see in your viscera class. Okay, you have viscera class of small intestine and also viscera of duodenum, pancreas, and spleen, DPS. Okay, so there you will see the interior of the duodenum. So this is the main major duodenal papilla, minor duodenum papilla, and these are the circular folds. And just above the major duodenal papilla, there is a hook, semilunar fold of mucous membrane, and that is known as monk's hood. Okay, and there is a vertical ridge or longitudinal fold just beneath the major duodenal papilla, and this represents the intramural course of these ducts, accessory main pancreatic duct and bile duct. Intramural course of these ducts represents this longitudinal. The circular folds are known as plica circularis, and you can see in the major duodenal papilla the bile duct and main pancreatic duct is opening, and in the minor duodenal papilla, accessory pancreatic duct is opening. And in the first part, there is no circular fold. Its mucous membrane is smooth in the first part of the duodenum. Okay. Next, another important ligament of duodenum or suspensory muscle of duodenum or ligament of Treach. Okay, this is also asked in your viva. The suspensory muscle of duodenum is a fibromuscular band and that suspends and supports the duodenojejunal flexure. What is the attachment? It arises from the right crus of the diaphragm near the esophageal opening, and it passes downward and forward and gets attached to the posterior superior surface of duodenojejunal flexure. What is the structure? It is a fibromuscular band that consists of striated muscle fibers in the upper part, elastic fiber in the middle part, and smooth muscle or non-striated fiber in its lower part. What is the function of this flexure, this ligament, in ligament of Treach? It fixes the duodenojejunal flexure and prevents it from being dragged from by the weight of small intestine. Okay, and it increases the angle of the duodenojejunal flexure. What is the clinical aspect? Partial intestinal obstruction may occur due to kinking or narrowing of the duodenojejunal flexure because of contraction of the suspensory ligament. Within the ligament, you have muscle fibers. Okay, so if these muscle fibers are contracted in some situation, there will be obstruction at this point, and it is important landmark for duodenojejunal flexure that separates the upper and lower gastrointestinal tracts. Okay, and radiological location of ligament is important indicator for rotation of gut. Its abnormal position indicates malrotation of the gut. Okay, rotation of gut you will learn in your embryology. Okay, rotation of gut comes in your theory. Mid gut rotation you must prepare. Okay, for your theory. Next is we are going to the blood supply, lymphatic drainage and innervation. First, the arterial supply. So, duodenum is supplied by superior pancreaticoduodenal artery, inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, supraduodenal artery of Wilkie, branches of right gastric and right gastroepiploic arteries, retroduodenal branch of gastroduodenal artery, and branches of hepatic artery. Okay, so all these are supplying the duodenum. Venous drainage, it is drained by veins corresponding to the arteries, and they drain into superior mesenteric vein, splenic vein, and the portal vein. Next, we are going to lymphatic drainage. Lymphatics from the duodenum drain into pancreaticoduodenal lymph nodes lying along the inner curve of the duodenum. And these nodes drain into hepatic and celiac nodes, superior mesenteric nodes, and finally to the cisterna chyli. What are the innervation? Our autonomic innervation is there. Okay, so there will be sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic fibers are derived from T6 to T9 segments of the spinal cord. Sympathetic is thoracolumbar. Are craniosacral. Parasympathetic is craniosacral, supplied by cranial nerves and sacral nerves. So parasympathetic fibers are coming from both vagi through the celiac and superior mesenteric plexuses. Vagus nerve is one of the cranial nerve, 10th cranial nerve. Okay, so this is the blood supply have been shown. You can see this is common hepatic artery. Common hepatic artery is dividing into hepatic artery proper and gastroduodenal artery. Okay, and this gastroduodenal artery is giving branch right gastroepiploic supplying the stomach and the superior pancreaticoduodenal. It is again dividing into anterior and posterior divisions, anastomosing with the anterior posterior divisions of inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, which is a branch from the superior mesenteric artery. Okay, and each of these anterior and posterior anastomosis giving vasa recta. Okay, so we have discussed it has two sets of vasa recta. So two sets of anastomosis is occurring, one on the anterior wall and one near the posterior wall. These are the vasa recta supplying the duodenum. And another artery, this is supraduodenal artery arising from the gastroduodenal artery, supplying mainly first part of the duodenum. Another artery supplies the only the first part is the retroduodenal artery. So the upper part of duodenum develops from the foregut up to the level of major duodenum papilla, that is the division point. Okay, so up to upper part of duodenum develops from foregut, hence supplied by branches of celiac trunk. Celiac trunk is artery of the foregut. Superior mesenteric artery is artery of the midgut. Inferior mesenteric artery of the hindgut. Okay, so this celiac trunk is giving three branches: left gastric, splenic, and the common hepatic. Okay, so here the branches are coming from common hepatic, it giving gastroduodenal branch, from their superior pancreaticoduodenal, supraduodenal and retroduodenal arteries. And the lower part of duodenum develops from midgut, hence supplied by inferior pancreaticoduodenal branch, which is branch of superior mesenteric artery. And each of the superior and inferior pancreaticoduodenal arteries divides into anterior and posterior branches that anastomose along the medial side of second part of duodenum and form anterior posterior anastomoses. And these anastomoses give two rows of vasa recta that supply anterior posterior surface of the duodenum. Okay, and this artery is important for your viva. Supraduodenal artery of Wilkie. It is a branch of gastroduodenal artery, supplies the superior part of first part of the duodenum. Okay, here it is has been shown. This is the gastroduodenal artery giving the superior pancreaticoduodenal, dividing into anterior posterior branch. This is the inferior pancreaticoduodenal, again dividing into two branches. Here is some other duodenal branches, retroduodenal and supraduodenal. Okay, and the veins correspond to the arteries, but they are superficial to the arteries and drain into splenic vein, superior mesenteric vein and portal vein. The lymph vessels follow the arteries and the majority of them drain into pancreaticoduodenal nodes being located along the inner curve of the duodenum, junction of the pancreas and the duodenum. And from here, the efferents drain into celiac nodes and superior mesenteric lymph nodes, and finally via intestinal lymph trunk drain into the cisterna chyli. Okay, here these are the lymphatic drainage. Here are pyloric nodes. These are the pancreaticoduodenal nodes. Mainly here it's lying, and it further going to drain into the celiac and superior mesenteric nodes. Next, we are going to some clinical aspects. Duodenal cap. Okay, this is barium swallow X-ray. This is stomach, body of stomach, pyloric end of the stomach, and this part is first part of duodenum, forming the duodenal cap. Okay, it looks like a cap. That's why the name is given duodenal cap. Okay. So the first part of duodenum is seen as a triangular shadow, white colored, called duodenal cap on barium meal, and pyloric sphincter separates the duodenal cap from the pyloric antrum of stomach. Here, this black line represents the pyloric sphincter. Okay. Next, we are going to peptic ulcer. The first part of duodenum is one of the commonest sites of peptic ulcer as it is directly exposed to the acidic content. It is the commonest sites of peptic ulcer as it is directly exposed to the acidic contents coming from the stomach. Okay, and the peptic ulcers are common in busy young peoples. The ulcer present as pain in the right part of the epigastrium, and the pain is typically relieved by taking meals and reappear on fasting. Okay, so that's why those persons having peptic ulcer they gain weight. Okay, to relieve pain they eat frequently and gain weight. But in case of gastric ulcer occur in the stomach wall. In that case, there will be weight loss in the patient because during food intake, there will be irritation of the stomach wall and there will be chance of bleeding and pain. Okay, so they will have anorexia. They don't want to eat food because it will cause pain. Okay, so the pain is typically relieved here by taking meals and reappears on fasting. An erosion of peptic ulcer may cause severe hemorrhage. Okay, there will be melena in the patient. Okay, clotted blood will come out in the stool. Next is duodenal diverticula. These are small outpouching of the duodenal wall, mostly found along the medial border of the second part of duodenum. And diverticula occurs at the weakness of duodenal wall superficially at the site of entry of arteries in the wall. Okay, specifically in the site of entry of the wall. Next is duodenal injuries. Third part of duodenum is most vulnerable to external injuries because it get compressed between the anterior abdominal wall and the vertebral column. And following the violence due to deeper location, second part of duodenum is protected from external injuries. Okay. It is mainly retroperitoneal in position, the second part. Okay. Next is duodenal obstruction. It may occur in following conditions. Annular pancreas. This is a developmental anomaly of the pancreas. Pancreas will form a ring and surround the second part of the duodenum and can obstruct the duodenum. Okay. And pressure by superior mesenteric artery on the third part of duodenum. It is lying in anterior relation to third part of duodenum, superior mesenteric artery and vein. Okay, and contraction of suspensory muscle of duodenum, ligament of Treat. Okay, that will also can lead to duodenal obstruction and duodenal carcinoma, congenital duodenal stenosis and atresia. These are developmental anomalies. All these can lead to duodenal obstruction. And in pancreatic head carcinoma, that can also lead to duodenal obstruction. Okay. Part-wise common duodenal disease. First part is prone to peptic ulcer. Second part is prone to duodenal diverticula. Third part is prone for external injuries. And fourth part is related to duodenal recesses and internal hernia. Okay. Okay, so this is development of duodenum develops from two sources, foregut and midgut. Foregut forms the part of duodenum proximal to the opening of common bile duct. Midgut forms the part of duodenum distal to the opening of the bile gut. Next is duodenal recesses or fossa. Okay, these are peritoneal recesses. Okay, these are the small pockets of peritoneal cavity that lie in relation to the duodenojejunal flexure. Here is the flexure. In relation to it, these are the four recesses. In the upper part, superior duodenal recess. Here is the retroduodenal recess. Here is the inferior duodenal recess and paraduodenal recess. Superior inferior duodenal recess, paraduodenal recess, retroduodenal recess, mesocolic recess. There is mesocolic recess and mesenterico-parietal fossa of Waldeyer. Okay. Next, so these are the recesses and their location have been discussed. Superior duodenal recess is 2 cm deep, lies to the left end of the fourth part of duodenum opposite to L2 vertebra, and it is present in about 50% subjects and its orifice faces downward. Inferior duodenal recess is about 3 cm deep, lies to the left of the fourth part of duodenum opposite to the L3 vertebra, and it is present in 75% of subject and its orifice faces upward. Okay, is it inferior duodenal recess, orifice faces upward. This is the orifice. This oval opening is the orifice of all the recesses. Retroduodenal recess, 8 to 10 centimeter deep, lies behind the third and fourth part of duodenum in front of abdominal aorta. Its orifice faces towards the left side. The paraduodenal recess lies a little left and slightly behind the fourth part of duodenum, present in about 20% of subject, and its orifice faces to the right. Next is mesocolic or duodenojejunal recess, that is about 3 centimeter deep, lies to the left of abdominal aorta between the duodenojejunal flexure and the root of transverse mesocolon. It is present in about 20% of subjects and orifice faces towards the right side. And mesenterico-parietal fossa of Waldeyer lies just below the third part of duodenum and behind the upper part of the mesentery, and it is present in about 1% of subjects and its orifice faces to the left. So these are the different recesses, duodenal recesses. Okay, so these are some clinical aspects during the development. Rotation of the stomach. Rotation of the stomach brings the midline of the duodenum to the right side, and mesoduodenum undergoes zygosis and makes the duodenum retroperitoneal organ except the proximal two-third, 2.5 centimeter. Okay. And congenital duodenal stenosis, it is partial occlusion of the duodenum due to incomplete recanalization of the duodenum. Next is duodenal atresia. It is complete occlusion of the duodenal lumen. It is the most common intestinal atresia. So these are the difference between the duodenum and small intestine proper, jejunum ileum. Duodenum length is shorter, about 25 cm. Other part of small intestine is longer. It have 5.75 meter. Okay. Vasa recta supplied by 2 rows of vasa recta. Here it is supplied by single row of vasa recta. Peritoneum is mostly retroperitoneal and fixed. It is intraperitoneal and mobile. It has a mesentery. Brunner's gland are present in the submucosa of the duodenum. It is absent in the submucosa of other parts. Okay, that's all. Any queries from this topic? So Brunner's gland are important from your histology. Okay, histology of duodenum. Okay, duodenal cap is important from your clinical aspects. Another duodenal atresia, all this. And development is important, duodenum. Which part it develops from foregut, which part develops from midgut. And duodenum can come as a part of long question, a short note. All the 4 parts you have to discuss. Length, relation, blood supply. This you have to know. Any queries from this? Blood supply is very important. Ask in your viva and also important for theory. Blood supply of duodenum. Okay.